Have you ever wondered how a huge company keeps track of every single valuable thing it owns? From tiny laptops to absolutely massive pieces of construction equipment? Well, today we're going to dive right into that. We're going to follow a fixed asset from the very first moment it shows up on company property.
So let's set the scene. Picture this. A brand new shiny yellow excavator gets delivered to your company's lot. It is a massive, incredibly valuable piece of machinery. The engine's off, the keys are in your hand, so now what? From an accounting point of view, where do you even start with this thing? To help us figure this out, let's meet Kevin. Kevin is a new accountant at the bike company, and this exact problem, this brand new excavator, has just landed on his desk. It's his job to get it officially recorded in the company's books. Okay, before Kevin can do anything, we have to be super clear on what we're actually dealing with. And this excavator, it's a textbook example of an asset. It's something valuable the company owns, they plan to use it for a long, long time, and it has to show up on the balance sheet, which is basically the company's official list of everything it owns and owes. So what's the tool for managing all this? It's called asset accounting. It's the whole system, all the rules, and the software that's used to manage and monitor the entire life of things like this excavator. This is Kevin's world, and it's the system that makes sure every asset story gets told correctly.
Right, and here's a really important thing to remember. An asset doesn't just get put on the books and then, sit there forever. It has a whole life cycle, a journey, and understanding that journey is the key to figuring out Kevin's very first step. You can think of every fixed asset as going through three main stages. First up is acquisition, and that's what's happening today. It's the day it's purchased and officially recorded. Then, over its useful life, it depreciates. That just means its value is lowered bit by bit to account for all the wear and tear. And finally, you have retirement, which is when it's either sold or scrapped. Kevin's job right now is at the very, very beginning of this timeline. So, Kevin knows he needs to record the acquisition, but he can't just scribble one excavator down on some ledger. He has to categorize it properly. And this first decision he makes is a really big deal with consequences that last for the asset's entire life. And that really brings us to the fundamental question, doesn't it? The company owns thousands of different things. How on earth does the accounting system know the difference between this giant piece of machinery, some office furniture, or an employee's laptop? Well, the answer is a pretty powerful organizing tool. And that tool is called the asset class. Just think of it like a specific bucket or maybe a folder for a certain type of asset. Every single asset has to be assigned to one and only one asset class. And this one choice sets up a whole bunch of roles and default settings for that asset from that moment on. Yeah, it's amazing how much power is packed into this one decision. The asset class decides how the excavator is going to show up on financial reports, what kind of ID number it gets, and, this is the big one, it creates the all-important link to the company's main financial books, the general ledger. That's the master record of every transaction in the company. Now check this out, because this is where it gets really clever. You can see here how two totally different asset classes, machines and special machines, can both point to the very same general ledger account. This is such a powerful feature. It lets the company get super specific for its own internal tracking without making the main financial records all cluttered and complicated. It's a perfect example of being both detailed and efficient. So after looking at his options, Kevin makes the right call. The excavator, he decides, belongs in the machine's asset class. Perfect. Now the system knows exactly what kind of thing it's dealing with and how it needs to be treated. Okay, the category is set. The system knows what the asset is. Now let's move on to the next step, giving this one specific excavator its own unique identity. It's time to create its master record. Every single fixed asset in the company gets what's called an asset master record. This thing is its birth certificate, its passport, its permanent file, all rolled into one. It holds all the critical info about that one specific asset from the day it was bought to its entire depreciation plan. So how does he make one? Well, it's a few key steps. Kevin can either start totally from scratch, or, to make his life a little easier, he can use another machine that's already in the system as a template. Then, he'll assign that machine's asset class he just picked, and that's going to automatically fill in a bunch of the fields for him, guiding him to enter the rest of the details for this new excavator. Now, here's a super important rule to remember. You can only delete one of these master records if no financial value, no money, has been posted to it yet.
Once it's capitalized, which means its value is officially on the books, you can't just hit the delete key. If you make a mistake, you have to do a more complicated transfer. It really just goes to show how important it is to get this stuff right the first time. So, Kevin did it. He's classified the excavator and created its master record. And it might feel like a small bit of admin work, but let's zoom out for a second and see why this first day, this first step, is so incredibly important for the whole company. At the end of the day, here's the big takeaway. Every single one of these asset master records, created so carefully on day one, becomes another data point in the company's huge financial story. When you put them all together, these records tell you exactly what the company owns, what it's investing in, and they literally form the bedrock of the balance sheet. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. If the life of every asset is its own little story, from acquisition all the way to retirement, what story are all of your company's assets telling together about its past, its present, and where it's headed in the future? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Have you ever driven past